Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, depending on what part of the country you're located at. This is Jasir Jamal from Texas 1031 Exchanges, located down south of the country, of course. So today what I want to go ahead and do is first address the fact that every single thing I say in all of my videos, including the ones I've already done and including the ones that I'm going to do, including but not limited to this one, every single thing I say in these videos is meant for educational and informational and entertainment purposes only. Please do not consider or construe anything I say in these videos as investment or legal advice, because it is not investment or legal advice. Before you guys make any major investment decisions, whether it be regarding 1031 exchanges or not 1031 exchanges, please always do your own due diligence and always consult with your own CPA, your own tax attorney, and your own estate attorney before making any major decisions, because investments have risks. And you're never guaranteed to make money, and you might even lose money as well, which is why it's always important you do your own due diligence, consult with your tax attorney, your CPA, and your estate attorney before making those major investment decisions. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. So today what I want to go ahead and do is address the fact about whether you can do a 1031 exchange with and buy your replacement property from somebody who you are related to. So the IRS doesn't really have an issue with you selling your property over to somebody without any issues, but they usually have a problem with when you buy your replacement property from somebody who you're related to. And the Internal Revenue specifically states, I believe it's section 267B, where it specifically goes into what a related person is in the Internal Revenue Code, and they address what kind of a relationship counts as a related person, and they don't necessarily address what kind of relationship does not count, but whatever relationship is listed under that section right over there is what they have an issue with when you buy or replacement property from somebody who has that kind of a relationship with you. So it's a long list right over there, but today I'm just going to dumb it down to two specific things, because more than likely these are the kind of scenarios you're going to run into. So let's say you just did a 1031 exchange, you sold your relinquished property. It can be to a related person, that's not a big deal, but you can't buy your replacement property from someone like this. Like, for example, if it's like your sister, your brother, or your wife, or your husband, or your mom, or your dad who own the replacement property and they're selling it to you, you cannot buy it from them. The IRS is not going to consider that as a valid 1031 exchange, and if you go through with it, they will invalidate it and they will challenge it, and we pretty much know what's going to happen from there. So members of the same family, when they say members of the same family, they mean siblings, spouses, mothers, and fathers, basically. But if it's like an uncle, cousin, then you should be fine. You shouldn't have any issues. So if you buy a replacement property from like your far distant relative, your far distant cousin or uncle, then I don't foresee any big problems with this. So, and then the second part is an entity in which the taxpayer owns more than 50% of the shares or members' interest. And this also applies to partnerships as well. So what exactly does this mean? Let's say you just sold your relinquished property and you just 1031 exchanged into a replacement property, and let's say for example, your entity's name is Business LLC. No problem. And on this entity, it's just you and your name is Jay. No problem. You just sold this relinquished property of yours, and you're just 1031 exchanging into this big boy right over here. This big property right here. And this property is owned by Partner LLC. And here's the thing. This entity, Partner LLC, has multiple members on it, which is good. And we'll just say one member's name is A, the other one's name is S, and then here's the thing. The third member is you, J. And since there are multiple members on this LLC, or even if this was a partnership, it would apply the same way. Since there are multiple members, that kind of helps you out, because look, if you're only one out of many members, then most likely the IRS should be okay with it. But now here's the main part that they're going to look at. If you own more than 50% of the shares or member interest in Partner LLC, and you decide to do a 1031 exchange into this property that's owned by them, even though you're on there and you own more than 50% of the shares and members interest, the IRS is going to have an issue with that, and that's something you unfortunately cannot do. So, but let's say if you own less than 50%, let's just say you own like 33%, and then this partner owns 33%, and then this partner also owns 33%. then there should be no issue because you're not a more than 50% and you don't have an extreme you don't have a lot of power in this entity for the decisions to be made. You only have a small amount. There are other members as well who own more than you, so therefore you should be good. But as far as I'm concerned, it's just best you should not do 1031 exchanges. And I mean, you should do 1031 exchanges, but don't purchase your replacement properties from somebody who's related to you. I would try to avoid it if you can. But then again, if it's like a far distant relative, you should be fine. But then again, if it's that property is owned by an entity that you are on, I mean, if you're less than 50%, you should be fine. But then again, I mean, I like to stay on the extreme safe sides of things, so therefore I would always recommend you shouldn't. But if you have to, then I mean, if you're for the entity, if you're less than 50%, you'll be okay. And if you're buying it from like an uncle, cousin, or like a far distant relative, you should be good to go. So aside from that, that's it for me today, folks. I just went ahead and made a video on this because I know this is kind of like a frequently asked question that, or at least it's something that people could consider doing. And I'm hoping this video over here answered your question. And if you folks have any more questions, please feel free to reach out. And until then, I will see y'all in the next video.